Welcome to this episode of Eureka. We are going to have a very wonderful discussion with the guest today. Imagine you had a heart attack and you are admitted in hospital. What should be going on in your mind? Maybe you will be thinking that what will happen to me? Will I be back to normal? Or is it going to make me very seriously ill? But the guest today was thinking about what is the physics behind heart attack, and he published a paper within few months. That's a guest who is a very exciting person who has done wonderful job and who is also currently vice chancellor of 2 universities, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar. That's our guest. Before we continue our discussion with him, let's take a quick look at his brief profile.
Professor Tankeshwar Kumar is a physicist by profession. He is also heading 2 universities simultaneously, the Guru Jambeshwar University of Science and Technology in Hisar and the newly established Deen Bandhu Chotu Ram University in Murthal. Hailing from Yamunanagar, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar completed his graduation from Kurukshetra University and did his Masters and PhD from Punjab University. His area of research deals with nanoscience, liquid state dynamics and computational physics. Not only this, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar has 80 publications to his credit.
Thank you for being with us, and you are a vice chancellor of 2 universities in Haryana.
Yes, thank you.
Guru Jambeshwar University of Science and Technology, as well as Deen Bandhu Chotu Ram University of Science and Technology in Murthal, which is just a new university just come up.
Yes.
It's very interesting that you are holding 2 vice chancellors posts. But let me start with this question, which is in my mind. You have had a very long career, more than 3-4 decades, right?
Yes.
If somebody is going to ask you, you are now a vice chancellor holding partly a kind of a administrative position, but before that, you have had a very long innings as a professor, associate professor, a teacher in a university, in a very prestigious university. If somebody is going to ask you, what are your 3 major areas of research, what would you put them as top 3?
Yeah, we started with the basically studying the properties of the transport properties of the fluids, right? So we study the various properties like diffusion, viscosity, and thermoconductivity. Then there are many things which were not explained by the earlier theories. We try to explain it, and we propose that over the many body theories, many body theory has to really include the many particle interactions, right? So that is one of the things which we did, and then there is change in the I will say the science. We are looking into the nano size particles, or we're looking into the nanofluidics, or properties of the material flowing through the nano size or micro size, and then we study how the properties of the material changes or the fluid changes when it is confined to the nano channels or the nano capillaries, right? So we find that all these properties which I mentioned, that these become direction dependent.
Then the third area, if one has to ask you, like you said, 2 areas. One is the issues about fluid, and the second is many body problems about fluid, and second is about nano size, how the things change.
Yes.
If somebody is asking you some third area which you...
Third area, we worked on this, the computational physics. We worked on how to basically predict the properties of the material by making them in the computer, and we did a lot of simulation on the work.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Let me ask a slightly more elaborate question so that we understand some of this in slightly depth. You said the properties of fluid.
Yes.
The kind of properties that we all would know is, for example, viscosity.
Yes.
What other are the properties of fluid?
The fluids basically depends upon 3 kind of properties. Basically, it's the diffusion, and the viscosity, and it's essentially the thermal conductivity.
Okay.
Right, and there are other properties also, but these are the 3 major properties of which look into the dynamics of the fluid. And these properties, when confined to a small place, their properties changes because the effect of the interaction with the walls become comparable to the properties of the
This is
fluids.
where your very interesting paper on blood flow through artery comes into picture, right? I mean, when you got heart attack, and can you tell us about what is this heart attack? How did it happen? When did it happen?
Yeah,
How did this whole thing
this
come
is-
about?
Just thinking that what is this heart attack is, essentially it's basically the flow of the blood for flowing through the arteries, and it's suddenly stop, and essentially that we look at the physics. The physics of this is, we thought that okay, either the because we know what the parameters that the doctor looking into, whether there is some blockade in the arteries or there is a blood is thicker, there's cholesterol and the thickness of the blood. So we try to study the properties of the fluid flowing through the different sizes of the channels.
Okay.
So we looking at the different channels, and then we start that looking at the how its properties perpendicular to the wall and parallel to the wall changes, right? So we find that after certain narrowness of the arteries, the fluid property changes. The perpendicular diffusion will start decreasing, and ultimately, if it becomes narrow, then it becomes essentially it freezes. I would
But
say.
actually, if
It
there is a
freezes.
fluid,
Yeah.
if there is a fluid with certain, let's say, viscosity, why shouldn't the size of the pipe matter? I mean, whether the pipe is narrow or broad, why should that matter in changing the properties of a fluid?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that we have the three kind of diffusion that way. We have the perpendicular diffusion and the parallel diffusion. I will say two kind. So parallel diffusion, it's a very less effect, but perpendicular diffusion decreases drastically because of its interaction with the wall, because there is a recoil from the wall, right? So that becomes effective. And ultimately it seizes the motion of the particles. So if it seizes motion of the particle, that essentially means it's becoming more and more closer to the, I will say, the freezing, right? So that's why if it is freezing tendency increases with the more dense fluid and with the more narrow
So, which essentially means when the arteries become narrow, the blood, even if it is not thicker, even if it is ordinary kind of blood, the flow is sluggish.
Yeah.
That's what you are saying. That's what is a thing that happens if the blood vessel is narrow, right? Or alternatively, the blood itself can become thicker
The
for
blood
some
itself,
reason.
yes, yes.
That also can cause heart attack. That's a kind of two work.
That's why we have, these Disprin are basically blood thinners, right? So that's a kind of essential medicine for everybody who is having the heart problems. Right?
Yeah. See, your work has been largely on theory.
Yes.
I mean, like this particular work which you did is also largely theory computational. How do you see its use, for example, in future in medical science?
Yeah, that is, it's just question of whether we understand what is the phenomena. If we understand the phenomena, then it can always be used to how to make better, thinner, or for example, we also made study that if the inner arteries of the arteries are the rough, right, then we have more chances, and if the arteries are elastic, then we have less chances. So that way, we look into the medicines, so for example, which make the artery elastic.
Okay.
Right, and we also see sometimes that we take hot water and with the lemon, so that also known to basically make the valves elastic. So that affects the things.
Okay, very interesting. So basically, it's like a medicine from bottom up. I mean, basically understand what exactly is happening,
Yes.
and then try to find a way of curing. That's way. I mean, of course, it may be a very long shot. Right now, you're only in the computational level.
Yes.
For doing that, people may have to do a lot, but then that provides a new way of looking at it. That's a very, very interesting discussion we are having. But we need to take a very short break. We'll take a very short break. We are going to have a very interesting conversation about other works of him, which are also very exciting. Take a short break, but come back, keep watching Eureka. Welcome back to Eureka, and we are having a very wonderful discussion with Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, who is the Vice Chancellor of Guru Jambeshwar University of Science and Technology, as well as Deen Bandhu Choturam University of Science and Technology, Moorthal, which is a very, very young university. We'll talk about these universities a bit later, but then we are having a very interesting conversation about his work, various areas of work that you have been doing before you became Vice Chancellor. So let me move to your second area of interest, which is nanotechnology.
Yes.
I think perhaps you would have been one of the earliest person to shift from the earlier kind of physics to nanotechnology when this
Yeah.
nanosciences were, becoming a kind of a separate discipline.
Yeah.
One question maybe I think I'll start with is why should the size matter? How does it matter whether the salt is slightly bigger or salt is smaller? It's going to taste salty, right? So
Yeah.
why should size matter?
The size is very important because if you have any particle, if the size is bigger, then it's basically essential is the surface area increases, right? So it's it is on the surface where the reaction takes place.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is everything is starts from the surface. So if the surface is larger or different, then I think this is one of the reasons that the nanoparticles are important, and this changes the properties of the fluid or the material. So that is the reason that.
So basically it's size. I mean, you take something, break it into two, the surface area increases. So which means that it can have much larger area for
much
interaction with
area.
other chemicals or whatever. That's a.
Yes.
And in fact, I think vaguely people say that, rather I have read that you cook food. If you cook food, then what happens in the food particle that goes into your stomach becomes even smaller and smaller. So the surface area increases, that the body is able to actually extract nutrition from it much faster than if you are going to just chew it without cooking.
Yes.
That's an interesting aside. But coming back to the nanotechnology, what sizes you usually call as nano?
Basically, we say that it's 10 nanometer to 100 nanometer. When the things are happening in that area, then we say it's basically the nano size, nanotechnology, you can say. And even if you look at the computer chip, there you also making now the technology around 40 nanometers, right? So where you have the transistors, you can make in 40 nanometers.
Just 40 nanometers.
Yeah,
that's a very interesting stuff. Let's come back to your area, I mean your work in nanotechnology. Can you kind of throw light on what is the kind of work you did on nanotechnology?
Yeah, that's we work on the nanofluids, and we also work on these properties of the material in the nanochannels. That I was explaining you to earlier. So nanochannel is basically it's a branch which we look at as a kind of a nanofluidics. Nanofluidic, and it's related to, I will say, making there is practicality on the basically lab on chip. When we talk of the you have all the electronics on a chip, then we now talk of a lab on chips.
Okay.
So lab on chips, when you say that the fluid is also flowing in the flowing. For example, you can have the blood samples, and the material itself will be giving you the result.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that is kind of a lab on chip. Why you take the person to take the medicine, or you just take the sample out of the body, you to put it there, and you can have the properties.
Let me ask you this question. I mean, I can understand this part. For example, when you break something into two, the surface area increases, and maybe interaction at the surface level can be increased. Why should a property of a liquid change if the channel is, let's say, at nano level, or the amount is at a nano level? Why should it change? I mean, what kind of physics comes into play there?
Yeah, again, essentially the same is that is interaction. That's the particles on the surface. They start interacting with the, so for example, the surface. Then if
This is basically van der Waal interaction, right?
No, it depends upon, with the wall you can say it's a van der Waal interaction, you can always take it, but depends upon which kind of particle you are talking. They can have the different kind of interactions also. So these start playing the role. That playing the role means their effect is comparable to the other interactions.
Can you illustrate what kind of material, how, I mean, some illustration of how different material will have a different property?
Yeah, for example, if we look at sea, we take the water, right? We take if I say simply water in a river, it will have the same property as the property in a glass.
Yeah.
But when it becomes it flows in the very thin channels, its properties will be changing, right? Maybe the freezing point will also decrease, right? For example, if you have it all also depends upon what kind of channels you are having. If you are considering the carbon nanotubes, right? The carbon nanotube, the water is flowing through it, right? Then maybe it is being charged. So it charges, it's already there that that you can use it as basically for charging the things.
Okay,
right? Yeah.
okay. So this is a kind of, I mean, what other areas in microfluids you are working on? Like, what are the essential questions that you are asking about microfluids or microchannel?
Basically, in the nano channels, we looking for their properties only. These are how these properties are the which is changing due to its sizes and due to roughness, due to elasticity, or any other because of its structure of the walls. That is also very important. How the structure wall is consist of.
So, which essentially mean that by studying the microfluids, I mean, you are looking at futuristic lab on chips. Basically, you just prick on your body, you will know whether you have sugar, whether what's your various parameters, without actually taking the sample to a lab and things of that kind. That's what is the
That's
kind
what
of
application it has.
it potential application it has. Very, very interesting. Let's shift to another interesting work that you have done. It's about charges moving. When different particles are, I mean, different solutions are there, the charges move differently. Can you explain us what it is like?
When we have, for example, even as any salt, let's say even the salt, simple salt, sodium chloride, right? Sodium chloride, when it is at the molten state, right, the sodium and chloride, they move differently, right? But if there is potassium chloride, they move differently.
No, let's look at the sodium chloride. Sodium chloride, sodium is positive ion,
Sodium
chlorine is
chlorine
negative
is
ion.
negative ion.
So, what is the movement that you are talking about?
It's their diffusion.
Diffusion. Okay.
Diffusion, because it's become a liquid in the molten state, their diffusion will be different.
Okay.
Right? Then the question is why it's different, because it's sodium is sitting with the chlorine, right? The chlorine is sitting with the sodium, right? The first nearest neighbor are the same,
Yeah.
right? For chlorine as well as the sodium.
Yeah.
And
But what happens?
because slightly they may be different in masses,
Okay.
right? But whether it is proportional to their masses, or the third particle interaction is playing the role. Right?
Okay.
So that was very important to find it out why these properties are different. Right. So we have also different property in the sense that, for example, if we have another liquid like potassium iodide, then the iodine is heavier. Right? Its diffusion should have been less, but it is more.
Okay.
Right. So that was a disturbing factor. Right. So that we could not explain by the simple theory. So we have to understand that how the next nearest neighbors are playing the role.
Okay. Okay.
So that essentially is what my theory, that why these second nearest neighbors plays a role, and why we have these different mobilities of them.
Very interesting area. I mean, of course, maybe one may not find an immediate application for this kind of work, but perhaps they all have, I mean, what is store, we don't know. We might have to look for future to understand. We may need to take a very small break here. We will take a very small break here. Don't go away. We are going to have this very wonderful conversation after the break. Keep watching Eureka. Welcome back to Eureka, and we are having a very interesting conversation with Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, who is the Vice Chancellor of 2 universities in Haryana, and we are going to talk to him about these universities. Sir, you are a Vice Chancellor of 2 universities, which is a very, I think, rare honor. Can you tell us something about these 2 universities? What's the background?
Yeah, I joined Guru Jambeshwar University as a Vice Chancellor in October 2015. Right, and this university started in '96, and the other university, that is Deen Bandhu Choturam University, started in 2006, and I took its charge only in the August. Right, it is just 6 months I have, and within this period, this Guru Jambeshwar University has been ranked 24th at the National Institute of Ranking Framework.
Okay.
With the 65 as its H index, with the purse grant of 10 crore from the DST, and whereas in 6 months Deenabanath Bandhu Choturam University, there's a 7 program has been accredited by National Board of Accreditation, which is international, and only recently it has been accredited as A grade by the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, NAC Bangalore. So these are the, I'd say,
That's a very, very interesting. That shows your leadership role and then support that the staff and students in these two universities have provided you. That's a very interesting thing to note. Both are universities of science and technology,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you should be having some major science and technology programs in this university. Can you tell us some major program that you have taken up in these universities?
These universities has engineering courses as well as some important science and technology courses like we have biotechnology and physics, chemistry, and these are basically our research department.
Okay.
And all these departments we having a BTech, MTech, and PhD programs.
Okay.
So research
So what
is
kind
a
of
major-
research work you have generated in these two places? What areas are you focusing on?
Yeah, these universities are doing very good research. Looking at say, Guru Jambeshwar University, they have very good program in the bio nanotechnology, and also have very good in physics and environment sciences, and also looking at other area is the radioactivity, where we are having the projector from the BRC to measure the radioactivity material in the area of the Haryana. So these are the 4-5 departments I say consider as they are producing very good.
Very, very good. Excellent result. That's a very interesting thing. But then looking at the scenario in India, I mean, if you look at the research scenario, institutions like Indian Institute of Science or IIT or the newly developed ISIS, they stand out if you look at the number of research publication or international impact. But whereas the universities, even older universities,
Yes.
don't figure out anywhere. I mean, this is kind of a concern, right?
Yeah, there are few only that there are few universities who are doing good, but there it is lacking. I agree with you because we have many state universities, and these state universities, are sometimes are controlled by their higher education departments, and where these really don't get freedom in the sense that of freedom of, let's say, appointments or freedom of about that how we can spend the money on with the research projects, or how we can get the research funding from the others. And we also very important is I will consider as the appointment of the vice chancellor even. Right. So I think the vice chancellor has to be always the academician. Right. So that I think if he can make the difference, he is the only one who can make the difference. So that's very important.
That's a very interesting and important point that you have made. And you have been with another university before as a faculty, and then today you are heading two universities as vice chancellor.
Yes.
In that sense, I mean, you have been always with the university stream.
Yes.
What do you think are the major challenges the Indian universities are facing today?
The Indian universities, we have essentially, what we are facing as a challenge is to attract the students, good students from other states. Even if you have a good university, the people want to come, we cannot get good students from the other states. So something has to be done at this level, that university should be considered as universal. Right? Some percentage has to be increased for the other states quota, so that you can have a really universal character in the university itself. And
that's, I think, a very, very interesting and important point. For example, if you have a primary school,
yes.
obviously the primary school should cater to students and kids living nearby. So it has to be local. But whereas the university has to be universal, and a certain percentage, only if they come from outside, both the faculty and student,
Yes.
I think the university will have a real atmosphere for
real academic
growth
culture,
and
yes.
academic growth. That's, I think, a very important point. So you think we need to have a different policies about university and university admission?
Definitely, it should be, we can have, for example, higher education council in every state, and that was actually recommended through the RUSA also. So where the higher education council could be some maybe retired vice chancellor, senior vice chancellor, somebody you can take the charge of it, and then you can all these universities can be guided by him, not administered by him.
Okay, so you mean to say that first we need many of the state universities to be taken away from the clutches of administrators who may not understand the nitty-gritties of higher education.
Sometimes, not always.
The academic issues of
Yes.
that's I think one important point that you are pointing out. That's one interesting important point. What other points are required? See, another important point that I see is today the new generation of students who are joining universities
Yes.
are not coming from let's say well-to-do families or families with means. They are all coming from let's say socially disadvantaged group. That's a new section which is coming into universities. They would require certain kind of support. Do we have that kind of a support in our universities? Because everywhere we see people from disadvantaged groups find it very, very difficult to survive in higher education.
Yeah.
And thereby their presence in various places is also restricted.
Yeah, you're very right, but it has to be done by the who is running the university, I will say, because when the students come to the university, right, they come with the expectation of that they will become employable after getting the degree, right? So, I think the first year of the student is very, very important.
Okay.
So whosoever the administrator, he has to give the 100% to the first year student. If we are able to improve, for example, if their personality, let's say for the English speaking, or let's say their other things, it could be the values, right? So if we start teaching in the first year, I think we have a very good output in terms of, let's say, if they are students or the product. Right, then we will have very good students, whatever is the input.
Yeah. That's a very interesting point. Lastly, I want to ask you this question, which I think is a very, very important question in India, which is the question of inclusion.
Yes.
Inclusion of gender, inclusion of people from various regions, inclusion in terms of economic status, inclusion in terms of cultural status. How in your both universities you are taking effort to ensure that it is having equal opportunity for everybody?
Yeah, it's a state government university, so obviously we follow all the state government policies, and we all take care of all these things. That sometimes we take extra care of all these things that happen.
This has been a very, very wonderful discussion, but unfortunately we need to end now because of lack of time. We could have had very many more areas to discuss. Thank you for being with us here today. Keep watching Eureka. We will come back with another episode and a conversation with another Indian scientist next week. Same time.
Thank you.